Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, please. Copy to answer you first.
Oh, yes, but there's an echo. Hold on. Oh, yes, but there's an echo. Hold on, guys. Alright, guys, bear with me here. Alright. Can you guys hear me now? There was some people typing. Still an echo though, eh? Somebody respond. You guys hearing audio? There's... Hello. All right, I'm gonna go. Okay, it's saying I have streaming audio, but I'm hearing a horrible echo. Okay, guys, sorry. I'm using a new system using Wirecast from YouTube because we were just giving new live capabilities from YouTube, and I tried to do a test run, and it worked fine, but this time I didn't get audio. So I hope you guys can hear me. I wish someone would say something. Hello, other person watching this live stream. You can hear audio. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so thanks, Icy Cool. Appreciate it. All right, guys, here we go. So we have a number of questions that came in from some people, both through the hashtag Become a Developer. You can ask that now. You can ask questions right here in the chat because, wow, this makes it really easier. This Wirecast tool is a lot easier. And yeah, so let's go. So the first question that came in today was how to become a video game tester, or more accurately, a quality assurance tester. Thanks, Icy Cool. Appreciate that. So there's a lot more detailed information on this at g4tv.com. You can go and check that out. I did interview Jason McIsaac. If you search how to become a video game designer, he goes into that. He went into it off camera, but there's a little bit of that there. So here's the thing about video game testing or quality assurance, especially for video games. It's really for people looking for an entry-level position into becoming a video game designer or video game developer later down the road. It is very tedious. It is not just playing your favorite game all day and getting paid for it. So, and how is it tedious, you say? Well, you'll be asked to do things like open this door, run through it. Open this door, crawl through it. Open this door, but change your settings while you do it. And you try that through 10 different settings, right? Both audio, video settings, ASLing, anti-ASLing, all that kind of stuff. So it really takes the fun out of it because it's repetitive and grueling. You're trying to find bugs, okay? And that's really the job of a video game tester. Now, how do you actually get the job? Well, so places like Dice.com, Tap Vibes, have different jobs boards that post these things. I mean, you can go to, the video game publishers' sites, and sometimes they have their own job boards and they advertise that kind of thing. You can also just be really smart and search Twitter for certain keywords like video game testing jobs, quality assurance jobs. It's really best to search quality assurance or QA testing, because in the industry they don't generally call it video game tester. The video game tester idea comes from when you're allowed to play a video game and beta version for free. That's where the term video game tester is, but you don't get paid for those types of positions. So like my twin boys would just love to be video game testers, but they're living in a delusional world because there's not a lot of fun things about it. But if you really want to get into the industry and you don't have a computer science engineering degree, you don't need that kind of educational background to start as a tester or a QA analyst, sometimes they call it. Okay? So, any other questions? Oh yes, have you ever learned Python yet? You're welcome, by the way. I am trying to learn Python, and are there any good books and internet resources for it? That's from Isocool. Thank you, Isocool. Okay, so Python. First of all, some issues with Python. It's a really old language, so it's not as popular. A lot of Python developers get made fun of. But the reality is, Python's still really much in demand, and there's a low number of high-quality Python programmers. So the really good ones get paid really well. I heard that from an AT&T lead developer at the hackathon. You can look at that video, What is a Hackathon? Now, so if you want to learn it on your own and you've taken tutorials online and you've learned well that way, then I would really try Udemy, Udacity, Codecademy, that kind of stuff. That can be a really good resource to get you started. There's both free courses and paid courses in the links below. Not necessarily to Python, but you can search those resources and find Python. That'll get you started. But there's a lot of people who, like me, I really need to work with other people who are coding that I can ask questions to, etc. So you really want to try one of the hacker schools. I'm writing a book on the hacker schools that's coming up, How to Become Zuck. But so depending on where you are, Icecool, where are you? Are you in the US? Are you in Canada? Are you in India? Where are you? Not Audacity, Udacity. Yeah, Udacity. So just take the A out of that and it's Udacity. And all those courses are for free on Udacity. I haven't done them myself, but they have really good reviews. Okay? So going on, I'll keep asking questions, I'll answer them. We're going to move on to the list here. After high school, how should I go to uni or work on my own? That came from Google Plus. Amir asked that question on Google Plus. Thanks, Amir. So, Amir, it really depends on what you want to do. You have to be able to answer specific questions of yourself. What do you really want? Like, I mean, I know you want to be a developer, but what is worth sacrificing for? Okay? So if you're young, you have the time and the money, and you want as many options in your career as possible, get a degree. I mean, I've spent a lot of time railing on degrees, but if you can afford it and you have the time and you're young, it creates the most options for you. Okay, if you're not dead set on what you want to do right now. But for most people, the degree is just too many years, too expensive for too little gain. Okay, so after 4 years of 90% theory, you don't have a working portfolio, you don't have a lot of hands-on application experience, and you got no job and no one to help you get a job, and you're 100,000 plus in debt. Not a good idea for a lot of people. So this is where you can learn online, but the hacker schools really come in because it gives you an intense learning experience in a short period of time, usually 3 to 4 months, fraction of the cost, sometimes free compared to university, and then they actually help you get a job. So Dev Bootcamp, Codecademy, which is now the Starter League, Catalyst class, which we just interviewed, Hacker School in New York. I don't know of any in Texas, Icycool, but there might be some stuff in Austin that I'm researching now. Are you in Austin? Or are you in Dallas? Or where are you? You tell me that and I go on to the next question. So Matt Apple says that I am a prick for brainwashing you into going to university. So Matt Apple, you can see Matt Apple's question. I'm not going to try that again. But that's better, right? Sorry, guys. I just changed the screen and it freaked out on me. Okay. I was going to show you that quote, but basically he said, you know, I'm brainwashing people into thinking that they have to get a degree. Obviously, he hasn't watched my other videos where I talk about that. But the reality is each person has different needs, okay? I already talked about going to university, but like the last guy I just interviewed, his name is Douglas Calhoun. He's locked himself in his room for 5 months with a whole bunch of books on Python, on C, Objective-C, and Java, and he tried to teach himself. And this is an adult, I mean a disciplined guy, and he just really had a struggle because each book didn't kind of build on the exercises that he'd learned, and it was kind of disjointed, and he had no one to ask questions of. You know, going to Stack Overflow and you know, GitHub can be really helpful, and it's an awesome tool. You really need to do it, but that could only get him so far. He needed to be mentored. He needed to be in a structured environment that really focused on one language at a time and was more geared towards his personal learning style. Hacker schools can do that really better than anything, and I mean they're proving this. I mean, Dev Bootcamp has been graduating, you know, 20 to in the beginning it was only like 20, but it's like 50 developers every 3 or 4 months, and they're averaging $70,000 a year right out of the gate. And I know lots of people accuse them of, you know, BS on that. So I did some research on that, and it is actually accurate. 70 is actually a little bit low. There was lots of developers getting $80,000 to $95,000 right out of the gate, only having trained for 4 months in Ruby on Rails. Okay, so it is possible if that is what you want. Okay, how we doing? Oh, you're in Fort Worth, an hour away from Dallas. I'm going to look into, you know, hacker schools in Texas, because I think there's something going on in Austin. If you didn't want to make your way to, you know, Chicago or San Francisco or New York for those hacker schools. Okay. Next question. So Jesus Bonrano says that you need to learn much more languages, not just Ruby or Ruby on Rails. So I think Jesus, both of us were a bit confused with the language he was using, because he said he was later talking about designers, and even designers, you know, before you kind of sell yourself as a web designer, you should know, you know, all these languages and all these different tools. I think the wisdom still stands. When you're starting out, as most of us are here, you choose one thing, become highly proficient at it before you kind of branch out, because a jack of all trades, if you're looking to get hired into, you know, a company or a startup, they don't do as well. Now, if you're starting your own app company, being a jack of all trades is probably a good thing. So you got to decide again what you really want. App economy versus the traditional IT at a big company, what is better? So this to me is one of the most interesting questions. So should I, you know, try and start my own iPhone app or Android app and, you know, make money that way? Or should I try and get a job at a traditional IT company like CSC or DICE or something like that? Okay, so again, you have to decide on what you really want. For me, I think there isn't a happy medium. After going to one of these hacker schools, you can get hired at these kind of mid-tier startup companies in Silicon Valley, Chicago, Toronto, New York, on this stuff, because they have the money to pay you. But what they also pay you is equity, okay? Stock options. And this is huge because it's this happy balance. You don't have to take all the risk in starting your own app company, but at the same time, you don't have to be a sheep, just a cog in the wheel, grinding out code. You actually have a stake in how well the company does. It's sort of a happy medium, and there's a lot of opportunity for that if you're willing to go to one of the major centers that have lots of startups. So Boston has a huge startup community. Obviously New York, Chicago, San Francisco's crazy, San Diego, but also Toronto and Vancouver are big tech startup towns. I'm in Toronto, and it's huge here. We have HackerU. It's our own kind of local hacker school, but there are other hacker schools starting up just in Toronto alone. Okay, there's a bit of a revolution there, and you guys need to figure out about it. Okay, so is it better to learn one language at a time? From what I am learning, my own personal experience, and from now the 78 plus interviews, definitely learn one language at a time. Okay, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a hot language. Icy cool, if you're into Python, and I've heard many people say that Python is a really good language to learn first. It's the foundation of a lot of other languages. However, it's not hugely sexy and hot like Java or HTML5 or Ruby on Rails. Okay, those are really exciting, very in high demand. Okay, you're a good Rails developer, you're a good Java developer, you're going to find work. Okay, so just decide what you want to do. But you know, Python is a great place to start. Okay, all right. I think we got like one more question here. What is open source versus not open source? So again, I want to direct you to another video I did with Michigan Bertigue, a very successful software architect, really high-level developer, and he started open source agile. And we go into detail for about an hour about the nature of open source, so check that out. But in short, open source technology is when a language or a software has been created and anyone can use it for free. Now, people say, wait a minute, Android's supposedly open source, but it's not free, you have to license it. What it means is Linux would be the most famous open source language, right? Or technology, rather. So many people have participated in creating Linux, as opposed to a closed technology like Microsoft or iOS. Only Microsoft hired developers, only Apple developers can work on that language and contribute to it. And if you want to use it, you often can't, or you have to pay a very hefty licensing or partnership deal. Okay. Now for Android, Android's kind of a hybrid of it. For companies like Samsung to use Android on their mobile devices, they have to pay a license fee, which is pretty hefty. But it is open and free. Anybody can use it. You don't have to come up with some sort of special deal with Google or Android to do it. Okay. All right. So those are the questions that came in. I did start in, this is Icy Cool, I did start in multiple languages. It makes me wonder if I should try Ruby or Java instead. Well, again, Icy Cool, for me, that goes back to, are you proficient enough to make something that someone would pay for? Or at least, you know, you're beginning to get there. If you feel really proficient in Python or something else, sure, you know, move on. We talked to Max Katz from Tigsy, and you can look at his interview where it says, I think it's IT degree versus certification. You can look at my channel and find that. And he goes into this really well. So he says that in his mind, the most successful developers for this year have really been the ones who are super experts in one profession, and then with enough experience in technology in the related languages and technology to work well in a team. Okay, because the people who are really making products that are really moving are working in small teams. Okay, so you know you have a couple designers, a front-end developer, back-end developer, and then you may have an HTML guy, a Java guy, or gal, and they work as a team. But they wouldn't work really well as a team if they were all as a jack of all trades. Okay, so really be an expert in one area, and then branch out into other areas to work well as a team. Do I have a separate channel or just this one? So there is just this channel right now, and it's a mix of live chats like this. I may be interviewing someone else while we do a live chat like this, or there's a higher production value videos. We just went to Android TO 2 weeks ago, and I got interviews with Facebook, Google, and Tumblr, and Sony, all developers from those companies. So I am buried in editing those videos. And the other thing is, this may not be for you, AC Cool, but for other people, I need an editor. I need someone to help me edit these things because I have like 60 more interviews in the bank, and I'm just buried in editing them. It takes so much time. It takes like 3 or 4 days to edit one because there's so much footage. I have to edit it down to the most important parts, and those are the most popular videos, right? Like my most popular videos are the ones that I've condensed a huge, 1 hour interview into 5 or 6 minutes. So any editors out there, contact me, and I'd be happy to work with you. I do need some help there. Okay, so that's all the questions we have. If there's any other questions, let's just check on Hootsuite here. So again, I monitor hashtag become a developer for any questions. If I don't get the questions here live, I'll get the questions next week, or I can even email you. You can email me at jace@howtobecome.tv. Icicle, if you want to email me there and ask some more questions, you can do that there, or you can do that in the chat later on. I'm always following the comments. If you have a comment or a request or suggestion, please put them in there. I do follow and respond to every one of them. Okay? Thanks very much, guys. I hope you have a great night. I'm sorry about the technical and audio problems. This is the first time I used Wirecast. Before I was just using Google Hangouts. So, any questions, suggestions, requests, put it in the comments below. Subscribe, and I'll see you again next week. Same time, same place. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday evening. That's when I bring on a guest and we do kind of a live informal chat like we're doing right now. But the higher production interviews are coming up from Facebook, Google, and Tumblr. And we're writing a book called How to Become Zuck. It's a 3-part series. The first part is all about hacker schools and the revolution that is happening in creating a small army of awesome developers creating great stuff. Okay? Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.